John and I wanted to talk about like tools for the weekend mechanic. This is a good subject because, you know, what tools do you buy? Which ones do you not waste your money on? And we just feel like we got a short list of a bunch of tools that we each recommend that we feel are kind of important to have. So what's your first one?
Number one, I've got the Milwaukee Impact Driver. So this is the M18 Fuel. It is super, I mean, this thing is pretty heavy, super torquey. I think it goes, I have my notes here, 1,000 foot-pounds
Wow.
that it can actually do. But like, so, you know, you usually have just an impact driver, you know, everyone has a DeWalt, a Milwaukee, whatever it is. This is a step up. And it has so much torque in it, but however they designed it, I don't know how they designed it. It won't break your wrist because of the torque load. Like it'll break the bolt. I have snapped off the heads of numerous bolts now having this. But also like, man, you got to get something to 250 foot-pounds, crank on this for a second and then pull the torque wrench out and do it. Like this gets it way closer. I've actually gone over, like often it's like I need 250 for like suspension bolts and I'll do this and, you know, and I'm like, okay, good. And then I'm like, oh crap. You know, like I just did 350, you know, or whatever. and so it works really, really well. And especially working on a Bronco, working on an old truck where you're having to get, you know, old rusty bolts out. You're having to get, you know, a lot of stuff. This thing is amazing. And I actually have the small battery on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've got the low profile battery, which is like an inch shorter.
Yeah.
Which sometimes that 1 inch is like the difference whether you can get the tool in there or not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has 4 different settings. I keep it on the second setting most of the time. The fourth one might break your wrist, but
might flip your truck over.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is amazing, and getting a good pair of impact sockets to go with it. Like, I think that's important too. You know, you obviously don't want to splinter a chrome socket, you know, non-impact, socket with it, but man, yeah, that thing is amazing.
Do you have a brand you like on the impact sockets?
No, I just got a set. It's a Nico, the deep impact sockets. I got it off Amazon. I think it was $50. I mean, not too expensive, but they've lasted. I've beat those things up and they're great.
My first tool is, you know, I kind of went all out. I like tools, so I like to buy the good stuff, but it's just really a torque wrench. And I think it's important because every bolt on the Bronco, almost every bolt, has a torque spec associated with it, and it needs to be so tight. For example, if you over tighten your lug nuts, you can't get your wheel off on the side of the road. And, you know, tire shops will do you that favor, and you're sitting over there, you can jump up and down on a tire wrench and it will not come off. So, you know, there's a torque range for that so that you can replace your tire. But I have a Proto brand torque wrench. I have several of them in different sizes, 1/2-inch drive, 3/8 drive, 1/4 inch. And I love them. I got them at MSD Industrial. They're an online retailer, and it's a really good brand. I'd put it up with the best, but it wasn't, you know, crazy expensive. I've gone through plenty of $29 and $19 torque wrenches. I have had some of them didn't even finish the job. You know, you're using them in 30 minutes. It just goes boing and things starts popping off. So, you know, I don't mind spending a couple $100 or $300 on a good torque wrench, and you'll have it for like 5 or 10 years.
My next tool is a 2-in-1. So I've got my, what is this? My Pitman arm puller, and then my harmonic balancer puller. And both of these, I feel like, are just really good tools to have in the drawer at all times. Like, this is one that, like, you shouldn't just rent when you need it. Like, you need to buy one. I think this one was $20 and this one was $10. I mean, it's like, they're so cheap. It's, you know, not expensive tools. But I go for my Pitman arm puller for so many things, because It's just that thought of like, I wonder if I could get my Pitman arm puller on that and get it off. Or like harmonic balancer, I think I pulled my steering wheel off with this. Or, it's like there's so many multi-functions with these two tools in particular that I think they're good ones just for everyone to have in their drawer.
I've used the harmonic balance puller to help pull the Pitman arm off.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it'll just go ping and come off. Otherwise, you can fight that thing and they just don't come off.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a lot of tools that have multi-functions, and I think these are two of them for sure. And with all these, we'll put links in the description below where you can find the ones that we're talking about, or find your own, and we'll just put Amazon links or whatever down in the description.
Well, my next tool is actually a very large item. It's actually a steel table that we use in the shop, and I've added casters to it that lock, but it's a Miller welding table, so it's about 32 inches square, 1/2-inch steel plate on top, which by itself is crazy heavy because I had to assemble it. But this one's a double, so it has 6 wheels and 2 plates side by side, so it's somewhat rectangular. But I have stood on it multiple times and pounded on stuff. The other day we had 2 axles, a Dana 44 and a 9-inch on top that I hadn't taken apart just to get them out of the way and roll them around. But this table's amazing. It has like an X groove cut out of one plate, so you could have these clamps that move around, and they're has like copper threaded clamps. So it's a welding table. You clamp your welder ground to the table, and you can weld right onto it. And then we just like grind off any slag or where we welded onto the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing's invaluable, and they're not cheap. This one's on the expensive side, like $2,500, but they have half the table with the 1/2-inch steel plate on top with 4 wheels, and it's like $500 or $600.
Wow.
And I mean, it's invaluable.
Yeah. That is, I mean, like, I'm sure people listening, like, why would I ever buy a welding table? Like, but we all have tables in our garage, and we all need tables in our garage. And so having something that is sturdy, like that, you can, like, I took my transfer case out not too long ago, and like I put my transfer case on my MDF, table that I have, and I was like, oh geez, like, is this thing gonna hold it? But yeah, having a good welding table, thick, sturdy table. Now it's terrible for sound, like if you're like banging on something and like the metal just like ping, throughout the garage. But yeah, that's a good one for sure. I like that one.
What do you got there?
This is a power probe. This is the whole Power Probe 4 kit. But oh my gosh, like, using a power probe changes the way that you diagnose electrical problems on your Bronco. Like, I keep this, well, not this one, this is actually yours. I keep mine in my Bronco.
It's in the center.
Yeah. Like, because anytime something electrical is going on, it's like, all right, grab the power probe. Like, let's figure it out. Because you plug this to the battery, you hook it up to the positive and negative terminal. Now you've got 12 volts, and you can, hook it up to something to test. Okay, is it the wire running to it? Is it the 12 volt? Like, there's just so many functions, more functions to me than just like a multimeter or something like that. Like, and this will test voltage. So if you do hook it up to something, you can actually see, like, it has the numbers on there of how much voltage is going through it. Like, I feel like this is one of the greatest tools. Now, it's on the expensive side. I think it's $200 or $300.
Yeah. So
it is a little bit pricier. It's not a $50 tool, but you will get the use out of this. Any electrical issue, this will be your first stop.
I vaguely remember getting yours out of the glove box while we were in the middle of a creek.
Yep. Yeah.
Because you lost fuel.
I did. Yeah.
So what we were able to do was put 12 volts to your pump,
Yep.
your fuel pump, and it was working. It's like, so we know the
Yeah.
pump's not bad.
Yeah.
And then you went to the front of the truck, and it was simply a wire right at the battery.
Yeah,
at the front.
It was
Somewhere up there.
Yeah, somewhere like one of the fuse blocks or something. You know, it was just like, and yeah, we just figured that out, started touching everything, and yeah, like such a multi-use kind of tool whenever you're in trouble.
It paid for itself that day.
Absolutely. Yes.
That's how you know you got a good tool.
Yeah.
I have it's a tool. It's a bunch of tools, but here, I'll see if you can guess what this is. It's not a socket.
Oh no.
This is a ratcheting wrench. I actually have two kinds. I have three. This one has a flexible head, so you can angle the head of the ratchet closed end part of the wrench. And sometimes that's the only way to get onto a bolt. And then I've got the regular set of wrenches, and then I have stubbies now. So sometimes all you can do is just get two fingers, and you have to stick your pinky out. And it's the only way you can get into a tight spot, maybe on an exhaust manifold bolt that's underneath, buried by the starter. But these are literally my favorite thing.
Yeah. I have a couple different sets, but the closed end ratcheting is fantastic.
Well, I mean, when you're like, you've got 10 bolts to do, you can just do that real quick, get it all on, and then get maybe your socket out and hit, or your torque wrench and hit your torque spec.
Yep. Exactly. My next one is a tap and die set. Now, some of you may be like, I've never heard of a tap and die set. I've never used a tap and die set, whatever it is. Well, working on an old truck, really, you should use a tap. You know, every time you pull an old rusty bolt out, you should grab one of these and, you know, spray some lube in the hole, and then follow this in with, or follow that hole with the tap. So what this does is this is just designed to actually clean out any holes, any, what are they? Bolt holes, like any bolt holes that have dirt.
There's an L in there.
Bolt holes.
We were just talking about the frames, and when I said you got to go and check all the frame holes, this is the tool.
Yes, exactly. Because it's designed to clean that out. It's designed, it has these channels where it will collect grime, dirt, rust, all that kind of stuff. And if you're doing any work, like, you need to do that, and you need to just make sure that your holes are clean. But then too, this is designed to clean any of your bolts. So, you don't want to use it on everything, but being able to, you pull a suspension bolt out, clean it off, run your tap through the hole, and then you're able to put the bolt in. Like, that bolt is going to last longer, and it's going to actually do its job better.
Yeah, so we use the die. One's a tap and one's a die. So you tap a hole, so you go in and clean the threads out.
Yeah.
So your bolt will thread down in there. But the die, these things are super cool looking. On the end of the exhaust manifolds, here, I actually... there's studs that stick out, and if you don't clean those up before you bolt it to your engine and you've got it inside the truck, you can't get in there. Like, if that nut won't tighten down, you do your collectors and the rest of your exhaust. So we always run those on the exhaust manifolds.
Well, even so, when I was doing my the suspension on my new build, the powder coater didn't cover up a couple of the bolt holes. So just a little bit of powder coat got in there. Well, then my bolt wouldn't go in there, so being able to just follow it up with one of these, run that through. And when I say run it through, you're not doing it with an impact wrench. You're doing it slowly by hand and just letting that eat its way through and clean all that gunk out.
Well, and anytime you have a broken bolt and you've got to drill it out, you need to run a tap through there to make sure they'll go through. When we do the frames, we check all the holes with a set like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, then we plug them, goes to powder coat, comes back, we run them again. And then that way we know when we're assembling the truck, we're not sitting there trying to fix these or drill out broken bolts later. So,
yeah. Well, how many times too have you broken a bolt trying to get it back in a dirty hole that you should have just cleaned it out in the first place?
Should have cleaned it out.
You should have cleaned it out.
Okay, so again, my next tool is not necessarily a cheap tool, but they can be inexpensive. I like to measure everything. So a dial bore indicator or a dial indicator, you get these magnetic mounts, and that's how we check the backlash on a ring gear and a ring and pinion setup. So not everybody's probably going to do that, but it is nice to have like a set of calipers. I even have a $9 plastic caliper.
Oh yeah.
And we measure today we were measuring the depth of the lug holes in these rims because we got these really old rims. They're called turbines, and we put them on our brand new frame, and the studs barely stuck out. So I was able to measure the thickness of where the bolts go through the center of the rim. It was 1 1/8 inch. Like, so in order to use these rims, we're going to have to go, but the measuring tool we use is just a set of calipers. It can clamp down and measure the diameter of a pipe or a bolt or anything, or it'll go inside a hole and measure the inside diameter of a hole or a piece of steel.
So there you go. The tools for the weekend mechanic. I think that's a great list. Like, I think that's a good list if you're thinking about, hey, I just got a Bronco. What are some of the things that I should save up for? What are some of the things that I need? I think that's a really good list to go off of.